Running parallel to the west coast of India, over 1,000 kilometers north to south, is an ancient mountain range called the Western Ghats, a chain of hills once entirely covered in lush tropical jungle and rolling grasslands. What you see here today are the remnants of what was once a vast, unbroken forest, small islands of green in the increasingly barren Indian landscape. These wet evergreen forests, locally known as sholas, have evolved over a period of 50 million years, making them among the oldest in the world. This film is a journey into the heart of one South Indian rainforest that has survived against all odds. A rainforest that was doomed, but rescued in the nick of time. Dark clouds, spawned over the Arabian Sea, surge inland in the month of June. Pushed by the winds of the southwest monsoon, their progress is rapid, until arrested by the looming mountain range. So it is here that they deliver most of their load, the sweet, fresh water that is the basis of all life. It has been raining here in Silent Valley since April and will continue till December, except for short breaks. By then, 280 inches of rain will have fallen, 23 feet of water. Within the forest, the impact of the downpour is broken by the broad leaves of the canopy, and the water drips gently down to the forest floor. A Malabar pit viper quenches her thirst. The large, rough scales on her head trap the water droplets, which trickle between the scales and into the mouth. The deep triangular pit between the eye and the nostril has a highly sophisticated heat-sensitive membrane, which enables the pit viper to detect warm-blooded prey even in total darkness. With one pit on either side of the head, the prey can be pinpointed with great accuracy. Fresh water is the most precious substance on Earth, and forests play a vital role in making it available for human use. Like a giant sponge, the forest absorbs vast quantities of water during the rains and releases it slowly throughout the year. Small drops seeping from the forest floor make tiny rivulets. Many rivulets make a stream, and several streams join to form the mighty rivers, which make life possible on the plains below. As long as the forest is protected, water is abundant. This highly efficient water system of the rainforest, however, is rarely left alone, because the rivers that flow down from the hills are an attractive source of hydroelectricity, a power source which is said to be clean, cheap, and safe. Power brings industries and employment. It seems like an ideal formula for development, but it can also be a formula for disaster. Here's what usually happens. A forest stream is dammed, submerging hundreds, perhaps thousands of acres of prime forest. An area of pristine jungle suddenly becomes accessible and people move in. The hills around the reservoir are soon deforested. With the vegetation gone, the denuded slopes now stand totally exposed. When it rains, tons of topsoil, built up over thousands of years, are washed down from the hills. Streams swell and rivers flood, causing immense damage. After a mere 30 years or so, the reservoir is half filled with mud, and the dam becomes practically useless. This is now a depressingly familiar sight in India. No water, no electricity, and the forest gone forever. Tropical rainforest is disappearing at the rate of 75,000 acres every day. It girdles the equator in scattered chunks, most of it in South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. This long, thin strip forms the Indian state of Kerala. Once, this entire area was covered with rainforest. Today, the forests have shrunk to mere fragments in the hills. Silent Valley and its surrounding hills comprise the largest block of rainforest left. Forest destruction for development is nothing new in India. What is new, however, is popular opposition to ecologically destructive projects. And it all started with Silent Valley. In the 1970s, the perennial Kunti River, which runs through the valley, was to be dammed. When it became known that the dam would submerge one of India's last rainforests, the dormant environmental consciousness of the nation was sharply awakened. Thousands of people participated in public protests, rallies and debates to oppose the dam, and after a 5-year struggle, Silent Valley became the first big Indian forest to be saved by people's action. The dam was shelved, and Silent Valley became a national park. Without legal protection, the forests have little chance of survival. Just a stone's throw from Silent Valley is a horrifying example of the fate of many forests. These barren slopes in Attapadi Valley were thickly forested a mere 40 years ago. There used to be elephants here, and many other animals as well. Today, you'll be lucky to see a sparrow or lizard. The destroyers of these forests moved out many years ago, when the streams and rivers dried up. From virgin forest to wasteland in 4 decades. Elsewhere, the deceptive green of the monsoonal flush fails to hide the hardships of life. With 25 million people, Kerala is one of the most densely populated parts of the world, and there is intense pressure on the land. Even today, forests continue to disappear as encroachers slash and burn. In the higher elevations, vast expanses of rainforest and grasslands have been replaced by tea, coffee, and other cash crops, pushing out the wildlife. Many species of South Indian animals, like the Nilgiri tahr, are now among the rarest in the world. With most of their habitat gone, less than 2,000 survive today. The high ranges of Kerala hold the largest populations. Although quick and sure-footed, Tahr have to be constantly on guard against the wild dogs and leopards that hunt in these hills. The safety of the herd depends on the sentries. The Nilgiri tahr is endemic to the Western Ghats and is the only mountain goat in South India. Within the forest, a dreaded bloodsucker comes to life with the rains. This little creature, about an inch long and looking somewhat like a liberated elephant trunk, is a leech, and no warm-blooded creature on the ground can escape its attentions. There are millions of leeches all over the ground and on the leaves of plants, waiting for unsuspecting victims to brush past. Once on an animal, or juicy human, the leech punctures the skin, and a powerful anticoagulant in its saliva makes the blood flow freely. A single meal is enough for several months, and if you stop to remove one leech, that's time enough for 10 others to latch on. But the Travancore tortoise is unperturbed, being cold-blooded, and therefore unattractive to the leeches. For them too, the rains are a time for rejoicing, as the forest floor offers a bonanza of delicacies. This morning, there's a strong scent of mushrooms in the air, and they make a beeline for the jungle's version of a fast food joint. Some mushrooms, like these, are detected from a long way by their fishy smell. Others are odorless, not to mention unreachable. Mushrooms lack chlorophyll and do not require much sunlight for their growth. This is just as well, because generally as little as 1% of sunlight reaches the ground in a rainforest. Among the green plants, there is always a lot of pushing and shoving to get to the top. The competition is particularly intense in open areas where a tree may have fallen, allowing more sunlight to come through. Giant lianas use trees as support, and orchids colonize convenient perches from where they produce exquisite blossoms. Rainforest soil is poor in nutrients. The luxuriant plant life here is only possible because of a highly efficient recycling system, in which termites, bacteria, and fungi play a vital role. During the rainy season, many species of fungi colonize rotting logs and aid in the recycling process. If the tons of leaf litter and rotting logs on the forest floor were not broken down and returned to the soil, the forest and all the life it supports would soon collapse. A pair of collared scops owls doze in their little hollow. Midday is siesta time in the forest, but not everyone is asleep. 50 feet below them, a drama unfolds as a king cobra stalks his prey. There is enough venom in this large head to kill an elephant. The venom, which is actually highly modified saliva, is a powerful neurotoxin that paralyzes and eventually kills the victim. Once seized in those powerful jaws, the rat snake's fate is sealed. The king cobra, not to be confused with the smaller common cobra, is a jungle snake that is rarely seen despite its large size. A male can grow to 18 feet in length, making it the longest venomous snake in the world. King cobras feed exclusively on other snakes, and the rat snake is a hot favorite. After 45 minutes, the meal is almost completed. It's an exhausting exercise, requiring a breather now and then. But unlike mammals, reptiles don't need to eat frequently, and it will be a couple of weeks before the king has to hunt again. Nearby, along a sunny stream side, it is business as usual. A damselfly flashes for a mate. But the varicose frog, a favorite food item for many, prefers to keep a low profile. He's safe as long as he doesn't move. The stream is a focal point for many creatures. Butterflies drink from the wet sand with their long probosces. Next to nectar, which is abundantly available in the forest, butterflies have an almost irresistible weakness for salt. This patch of animal urine on the ground is as popular as any pub. Pythons are excellent swimmers and love to cool off in the water. The Indian python grows even longer than the king cobra, to over 20 feet in length and is of course much heavier. Pythons have no venom and use their muscular coils to immobilize and eventually suffocate their prey. A large python could even swallow a leopard. Although pythons are becoming increasingly rare, they are adaptable and can thrive in many different types of habitat. But some other animals, like the highly specialized Travancore tortoise, can only survive in these dense hill forests. In the mating season, the male tortoise develops a delicate pink blush on his face and sets off to charm the ladies. He may be the slow coach of the animal world, but when it comes to romance, he can really move. His courtship is brief and none too gentle, but his mate gets the message. In 2 months, she will lay a single large egg. Apart from reptiles which dominate the forest floor, the rainforest seems strangely devoid of animal life. But if you look up into the treetops, a whole new world is revealed. The Malabar giant squirrel is one of the largest squirrels in the world, with a total length of 3 feet. They are highly territorial and do not tolerate intruders in their favorite trees. Dark fur is a common feature of arboreal animals in the rainforest. It is a useful adaptation for absorbing heat from the scant rays of sunlight that penetrate the canopy. A long tail also has its advantages, especially when you lead an acrobatic life. The whooping calls of the dominant male Nilgiri langur is one of the most distinctive sounds in the jungle. Nilgiri langurs, also known as leaf monkeys, divide their time between feeding and resting. But in between, there's always time for a bit of flirtation. Many rainforest leaves have toxins as a defensive measure to avoid being eaten. But it's a strategy that doesn't always work. The langurs feed on a wide variety of forest leaves that other animals would find unpalatable. This is possible because they have an extra stomach. Plant toxins are neutralized in one stomach before the food is passed into the other for digestion. Although the Nilgiri langur is a highly endangered species, it is not as famous as its more sedate relative, the lion-tailed macaque. Found in a few forests in the southern Western Ghats and nowhere else in the world, the lion-tailed macaque shot into the limelight during the Silent Valley controversy and in the process became the symbol of the anti-dam campaign. The survival of this beautiful monkey is closely linked to a rainforest tree called Kulinia. This tree produces a spiky fruit, which forms an important part of the monkey's diet. The Silent Valley Dam was to submerge vast tracts of these vital trees. While public sympathy lay entirely with the lion-tailed macaque, supporters of the dam thought it preposterous to halt development for the sake of an animal. Who is more important, they cried, man or monkey? In the ensuing frenzy, the larger role of forests as life support systems was ignored. As with all monkeys, lion-tails take parenting very seriously, and a mother's tender care keeps many a baby from falling to its death. Although lion-tails share their habitat with the Nilgiri langur, different feeding habits makes coexistence possible. The macaques are opportunistic feeders, and although mainly fruit eaters, will not pass up insects, or even the occasional lizard. A third primate of the rainforest, which is actually more at home around towns and villages, is the bonnet macaque. Bonnet macaques spend a great deal of time on the ground and have a distinct eat now, chew later style of feeding. They store hastily gathered food in special cheek pouches to chew at leisure in a safe place. Grooming is an important part of monkey social life, and several hours are devoted to it every day. It's an activity that feels good, promotes peace and cleanliness, and is based on a clear understanding. You scratch my back, and I'll scratch yours. Silent Valley is part of an interlinked habitat mosaic. The grasslands of the high hills, the wet evergreen forests, and the drier deciduous forests of the plains. For conservation to be meaningful, this entire ecosystem has to be preserved. A major step has been the creation of the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, India's first, with Silent Valley at its center. Found in the high hills, as well as the plains, is the largest deer in India, the sambar. The patch on the throat is a subject of discussion among naturalists. Perhaps it is a scent gland that helps the deer keep track of each other in thick forest. In the evenings, the gaur, also called the Indian bison, venture out into the grasslands, where they will spend the greater part of the night grazing. Gaur have suffered severely from habitat destruction, and diseases like rinderpest, introduced by domestic cattle, periodically wipe out large numbers. Gaur are the largest wild cattle in the world. This muscle-bound bull weighs close to a ton and stands about 6 feet at the shoulder. But even the bull gaur is dwarfed by another animal that roams here. Despite their massive size, elephants have an uncanny ability to move silently. In the thick bamboo forests of the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, elephants come and go like ghosts. Among Indian elephants, only bulls have prominent tusks. The trade in ivory has almost exterminated tuskers in South India. This bull's tusks, each weighing perhaps 20 kilograms, are worth about $2,000. The situation has become so bad that even young bull elephants with their tiny tusks are not safe anymore. Elephants have other problems as well. Fragmentation of forests means that they can no longer move between habitats as seasons dictate. An adult elephant needs about 100 liters of water and 250 kilograms of food a day. And the herds have to keep moving if they are not to destroy their own habitat. As people encroach on what was once exclusively elephant domain, man-elephant conflicts are becoming a serious problem. An hour before sunset, a bull elephant comes for his ritual bath. In the decade from 1980 to 1990, an average of 150 tuskers have been shot by poachers annually, and that's just a conservative estimate. The selective poaching of the males has created a severe imbalance in the sexes. In some areas, there is just one bull for every 150 female elephants, not enough to keep the species going. If poaching is an obvious menace, fire is an insidious destroyer of forests. Most forest fires are man-made, caused by poachers, encroachers, or a careless passer-by. The fragile rainforest trees have thin bark and little resistance to fire. A bad scar at the base can kill a forest giant in 3 years. When a big tree falls, it takes several smaller trees with it, and all of these add fuel to the next season's fire. One of the indirect victims of fire is this rare bird, the great Indian hornbill. Hornbills have unique nesting habits. After mating, the female enters a hollow high up in a tall forest tree and stays in there till her chick has hatched and is fairly large. In all, she spends up to 5 months within the hollow. Throughout this period, the male has little time for relaxation. The cramped conditions of the nest hole call for fastidious housekeeping, and the baby's dung and waste food are regularly cleared out by the mother. The female herself has a different technique for waste disposal and goes about it with remarkable accuracy. Even in the biggest forests, there are few tall trees with the right kind of hollow to suit the hornbill's specialized nesting requirements. If fire destroys these trees, the great hornbills will no longer be able to nest. It's as simple and as deadly as that. The male hornbill has a tough period ahead. He must find food for himself, his wife, and a rapidly growing baby hornbill. Every hour or two, he flies home with his cargo, and you can hear him coming a long distance away. Figs and berries, snakes and lizards are collected in that great beak and delivered with precision through the small slit that the female has left open for the purpose. Our journey through the rainforest is coming to an end. Although it took over 1.5 years to shoot the film, we have merely had a glimpse of this remarkable world. Silent Valley is safe for the moment, But we cannot be complacent. Even now, huge projects are planned that will destroy forests many times the size of Silent Valley. While it is unrealistic to call a halt to development, it is suicidal to continue plundering forests for short-term gains. These forests, with their incredible diversity of life and their amazing capacity to produce water, are a national heritage, a treasure to be safeguarded.